I have real estate, I have intellectual property, which is books and courses and digital assets. And then I have my cash value, I have a good amount of cash there. I have my cabins. So you either got to pick, is it intellectual property you're going to build your wealth with? Is it real estate you're going to build your wealth with? Or is it businesses? Those are the big three. If you can get good at one of those three, that's where the real wealth is created. Anywhere where you're stuck right now, you don't have a co-creator. Anywhere where you don't feel great, it's because you haven't thought through it in the way that's appropriate from a principled approach, and you've been listening to society telling you what's possible and not possible, and you feel stuck in that, and it's their interest to keep you stuck because then you're reliant upon them. But if we're reliant upon a government or a corporation, we lose our freedom, and when we're not free, we lose our power. Freedom comes from freedom of time, freedom of choice, and freedom of career. And we've been indoctrinated that we don't want to have freedom of career. We want to make our parents happy because they want us to do something. Or we want to make our schools happy because when I was graduating college, I had all these job offers at investment banks and big mutual fund companies. But I hate golfing and I don't like looking at stocks and bonds and computers. I like people. I like concepts. I like questioning and being curious about everything. That is a fit the mold, take the test, do what we say you should do, and you'll make a bunch of money and be miserable doing it. The big thing is I would start my day off really working on that. So I use the 5-minute journal, which helps you focus on gratitude, your intent for the day, and reinforcing your vignettes of belief. So like having these statements that really reinforce. And scientifically, you can look at like if you're going about your day and at the end of the day you say, what are the 3 things I did best and what's one thing to improve on? Always stick to that 3 to 1 so that you can start to build the subconscious belief system. And then, just taking care of yourself to start that day. So what are you listening to? Definitely I get in the sauna first thing. I do the cold plunge. I do a little bit of stretching. And what I'm listening to while I do that, and I start that with the 5-minute journal. And then if you're still in scarcity, take time to handwrite. Ask questions. Why am I in scarcity? Write the answer. What would it take to get out of scarcity? Write the answer. What kind of value can I add to the world? We get a better life through better questions. And actually handwriting the answers helps us to start to process those trapped emotions. So that journaling practice makes a big difference. Now, if you're still in scarcity when you start your day, then call someone that you can add value to their life. And add value to someone's life, because if they acknowledge and appreciate you for adding value, it's hard to stay stuck in scarcity when you're contributing. And the problem is we usually isolate ourselves when we're in scarcity. Listen to this tape of this ongoing kind of negative reel of like what we didn't do, who we aren't, what we should be able to do, what we don't have. And so breaking that system with gratitude and contribution are 2 of the main catalysts to support us and help us through. One of my early coaches, Dan Sullivan, has this kind of thought process that there's 4 levels of competency. There's incompetent, there's competent, there's excellent, and this is where people get trapped in excellent. Excellent means you can do it, maybe even better than anyone you know, but it doesn't generate energy and it's not fulfilling to you. And then above the line is unique, and he calls it unique ability. What's your unique ability? And so a lot of the problem is we look for answers in the world. And we listen to everything from a podcast to even read a book to, that we talk to other people. But a lot of this is about self-awareness and getting to a place of the void where it's quiet, where it's blank. And what I've found can help people do that is a hobby. So if you have a hobby that you lose track of time and it's not to make any money, you can start to listen to yourself again. And so I have simple hobbies, like I go out and shoot my bow. But I even have weird hobbies like just organizing the garage at my cabin because it just gives me time to think. So I just go up there, I'll clean it out a little bit, but even the sauna is helpful, taking a walk, pulling out a journal. Like I take time where I don't have any noise. I'm not listening to anything. And it's uncomfortable because we become so addicted to the noise. And finding our purpose or our career has more to do with remembering who we are than the things that we do. We forget all of that because of all of the compounded belief systems of society and the pressure of earning and the things that we want to do. And we're so close to these things that it's the elusive obvious. We discount what we're best at because we think everyone else is good at that. And we get jealous of everywhere where someone's good that we're not. And then all of a sudden we want their life rather than our own. So what we have to do is be willing to say, what is it that I really am fulfilled by? Like, I look back and I'm like, when I was 5 years old, I loved listening to my uncles tell jokes. I tried to learn them and repeat them. I remember my mom laughing hysterically at the jokes. I remember my dad having a dry sense of humor, and everybody he would meet, he would make chuckle, which built the relationship. So it was seeded from the time I was 5 that I loved comedy. So it was no surprise that when I went to Italy for a summer and I had tons of time off, sitting, and I was even bored at times, that I was like, what do I really want to do that's fulfilling? And that creativity came through, that as soon as I came home, I did an open mic and I went out and started doing comedy because it was already within me. But I was too busy saying, we don't need another comedian. We don't, like, I'm a financial guy. I'm not a comedian. Like, I was too busy caught up in what the world viewed instead of what I viewed. And we have to take that leap where there's courage, because we might not be fully formed in our abilities because they've been suppressed. Just like if you didn't work out for 3 years, even though you're a badass in the gym right now, if you went back 3 years from now, that first time back would be so brutal, you'd be so sore, you'd feel so inadequate, but at the same time, you would start triggering muscle memory faster than almost anyone else, and you'd be on an accelerated track because you know what to do from a form standpoint, from all the food that you have, and from the, but a lot of people just forget, so they go, oh, I'm not good at that anymore, or I'm not good at that because I'm too old, or I don't remember how to do this, because those are all stories we tell ourselves to avoid the moment that we suck. Look, I decided to write a theatrical keynote or act out the 4 money personas in the book. And the first time I acted was in front of my director, in front of a comedic coach, and in front of Aaron, my best buddy, and the screenwriter. There's 4 people in the room, and it was atrociously bad. And the reason it was bad is because I was in my head being like, am I doing it right? And this sucks, and I don't know. And I'm like, so I'm so caught up in my own mind that I'm not present. And then I just kept putting in the reps. And then I hired the coaches. And then I did the work because the work was so compelling and challenging that I was willing to go through sucking to get to the greatness. And I still have work to do, but that's what's great about if you find that in you, you're willing to dedicate 20 years. I'm willing to promote this book for 20 years because it's such an important instrumental piece of people's lives, of money. And it's the first book I know of that's talking about, at the end, it's bottom line that we want to be loved. We want to be seen. We want to be valued. And we've been told that all that comes through money, because people with money get heard, because people with money get people that follow them and that want a piece of them and that look up to them. But the reality is, it's not the money that really has us do that. It's the person that actually breaks through and lives a life that's fulfilled, and money's only part of the equation, but we stop and look at the money instead of the individual. There's hundreds of thousands of people on this planet that are wealthier financially than Joe Rogan, but they're not even close to as influential. And when he started the podcast, it wasn't because podcasts were popular. It's because he enjoyed doing it. And he says he didn't ever think it would be what it is today, but he stayed consistent with it because it was part of who he was. And he's an amazing, so the problem in society is we're like, ooh, that person has a big podcast, I should podcast. That's got to be what I should do. And now we chase something, and I call that modeling. People say, I want to model after someone else. But guess what? If that modeling is different than your sole purpose, you're chasing something that's not congruent with who you are. It's always effort and force instead of flow. When we discover who we are at the core, it's flow. It's effortless effort. It's part of a byproduct of who we are. And that's why things are so difficult when we try to copy someone else, because it's not meant for us, and we're chasing something that is absolutely destructive to our core. People will not understand it because that's not their sole purpose. It's your sole purpose. Your sole purpose, SOUL, is your values, which is a script for how to operate, your abilities and your passions for the highest context of living. It's who you are when you're at your best, fully self-expressed. I get a lot of my purpose in a dream. I had a dream to do a theatrical keynote. It was in a dream. I just had a moment where someone said I was hilarious before I walked up on stage, and I was like, I love telling those jokes. Why don't I do more of that? Children's book, I've always wanted to do one. I struggle with it because I didn't find a co-creator. As soon as I found a co-creator, we got it done. We got it published. It's gonna be massive, and we now have people wanting to do an animated series with it. But it wasn't the intent. The intent was use entertainment to educate, because I love entertainment. And so how can I embrace that? So a lot of people are fighting over how to create content in the financial world. And look, I will be honest right now that I would have more money if I just sold financial products and did financial advice, and I would be miserable. Like back in the day, I used to sell life insurance from 1998 to 2005, and I was good at it. And my wife is like, too bad you can't just stay selling life insurance because it has renewals. And I'm like, it doesn't fulfill me. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to do a radio show. I want to do this movement called the Producer Revolution where we help empower people. I want to start doing events. And that was not, you can't do that in certain licenses because they're like, oh, you need to send me what you're going to say beforehand. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to say beforehand because I'm in flow and that's where it's coming from. So I had to let that go in order to embrace the thing. But then I had to look at my portfolio differently. My portfolio is not stocks and bonds and mutual funds. My portfolio are books and courses and the content that I create. Intellectual property is my main asset, not someone else's company I know nothing about. It's a new portfolio related to the artist and related to artistry, not just what the world told me I should invest in. And that's hard to do, is break that mold, but that's where fulfillment lies. That's where fulfillment exists. And yes, it may seem crazy at the moment, and there may be moments where you're like, is this the right thing to do? But then when you feel the joy of it starting to work, when you feel the progress that you make, when you feel excited to go back and do it again. I did my theatrical keynote twice yesterday. That's an hour. And it's dedicated. I wrote every word's memorized, it's staged and blocked. I know where I'm standing, I'm changing costumes. It's effort, but it's the effort that matters. It's the effort that I want to be putting in. If I can't dedicate decades of my life to it, it's not worth my time. I'll let someone else do it. But if I'm going to do something just because of the money and I get bored, then I know that I'm torturing myself and I'm destroying my energy. Here's what I would do. I take money and I put it into a savings account that's a little bit different. I use overfunded cash value life insurance for my savings. So it takes longer to build the savings, but after a few years, I have more cash there than I would have in a savings account because it has better returns. That's where the banks put their money. Then the second thing I do is I buy real estate that I utilize. I have 2 cabins. One's being turned into a music studio. The other one is where I'm going to do an immersion one-on-one with a client today. It's on a river. It's got beautiful aspen trees. It's logs, but it's big, and it's like where my podcast studio is and where I go do my writing. So I do make a little bit of money because of the immersions there, but I also have major memories with my family. I don't like owning real estate in a fund. I like to touch the real estate in places I know, and this is a place that I'm intimately familiar with, and I've done really well because of that. When I went and invested in things like I was investing in real estate in the Midwest and in Nashville, and like I don't live there. I had to fly there. It was just a big hassle. I'm talking to attorneys and accountants. I'm talking to bankers. That's not what I want to do. So I bought a second cabin that we're going to turn into a music studio, so I can record audiobooks there, and we can make soundtracks to my theatrical keynotes there, and we can have other artists come in and be around them so we can be inspired, right? So I have real estate, I have intellectual property, which is books and courses and digital assets, right? And I'm going to start building some of those digital assets up. And then I have my cash value, I have a good amount of cash there. I have my cabins. I have so you either got to pick, is it intellectual property you're going to build your wealth with? Is it real estate you're going to build your wealth with? Or is it businesses? Those are the big 3. If you can get good at one of those 3, that's where the real wealth is created. If you're going to put your money in the market, it's not where the real wealth is created. The wealth is created for the people that are selling you the market, not the people that are actually making money in the market. They're making money on your money, whether you make money or not. The people that are issuing the stocks are making the money and they're underwriting it. So I'm more about like safe and stable if you don't know what to do with it. Invest in your skill set so you grow your income, and then get really efficient by saving on, the taxes, the interest, the investment fees, and the insurance costs, and then just put those in a safe space. And when the right opportunities come, you have cash. Most people could buy a business for the same price as a down payment on a home. Most people have intellectual property, but they just don't package it and they don't deliver it, so they don't have a way for people to pay them for it. And most people have some level of real estate that they like. Just don't try to be good at all of it. Get really focused and know your investor DNA. Your investor DNA is your values, it's your competencies, it's your drivers, and it's what you focus on, because risk isn't in the investment, it's in you, the investor. Only invest in what you know and stay clear of the rest. And then just protect your capital with the risk managed account like the insurance, so that you have a place that you can capture the wealth and have it stored there, so when the opportunities come, you can use that cash to buy the opportunities. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you're enjoying these videos, well, there's good news. More where that came from, so go ahead and click through and watch the next video now.